My name is Amanda Blackwood, and my primary podcast is called The Survivors Stories of Hope Live On. I was inspired to start podcasting after I lost my sense of community back in 2020. I had been a member of a small group of survivors of human trafficking here in Colorado. We would meet once a week, we would get together and do different crafts and stuff. And that all fell apart during the lockdown. We weren't allowed to do that anymore. So, without having anybody really in my life at that time that I could share what I was thinking or feeling with, I turned to podcasting at the advice of someone I didn't even know. I wish I knew his name now. I would absolutely thank him for this. But he told me where to go to start the podcast, and he told me how easy it was. My first few episodes were recorded from my living room floor or my bedroom closet or from the driver's seat of my car that I had just bought while sitting at the DMV trying to get in to register the car. I didn't want to whine anymore after that first season. I found another sense of community elsewhere, and I didn't need to do that anymore. But I knew the podcast was still important to me. So I did something that even I wasn't really expecting to do. And my second season was spent reading my autobiography, Custom Justice. For those of you who don't know, I am a survivor of human trafficking and something called sport torture. Yes, that's a thing. I get that question a lot. When I wrote the book, I wrote this in December of 2020. So it was not too long after I had just started the podcast. That's part of what the healing process was for me and how I was able to stop whining into the podcast. I was able to take all of that stuff that happened to me and give it a physical body separate from myself so that I could set it down on the shelf over there and forget about it for a little while and just walk away. It doesn't rule my life anymore. It still exists. It will always exist as pain and trauma always do. But now it has a physical body separate from mine. I know it exists. I know it's there, but it's not on the forefront of my mind. It's over here now, literally. After publishing my book and then reading my book, I realized how many other people had done the same thing. All these different authors out there had written about their own experiences of overcoming different traumas and challenges in life, and their voices weren't being heard either. So now my podcast, The Survivors Stories of Hope Live On, is all about uplifting those voices, the people who have gone through the trials and are on the other side. They are capable and healthy enough to talk about them in productive ways. That's why I tend to interview only authors, is because the authors, for one, they have a message that someone can tangibly hold in their hands to read, to help to guide them through the difficult times that they're going through. And for two, the people who have written about it are typically the ones who have learned how to let go of it also. That's more the kind of people that I really want to have their stories be heard. They're not stuck in that place of pain anymore. They've moved beyond that, but still recognize it as something that will always exist. So that's basically why I started it, why I keep going with it. I tend to get my guests from Podmatch. I do have people reach out to me randomly every once in a while asking to be on the program. If they have a compelling story and they've already written their book and it's already published, then I will consider bringing those people onto the show. But for the most part, I get all of my guests from Podmatch. Anytime I post a new episode uh, on my podcasts, I always include a link toward the bottom on where people can sign up to Podmatch so that they can connect with me and hopefully be a guest on my program. I love to interview people. I love talking to people that I otherwise wouldn't get a chance to ever get to talk to and to interact with. I had this conversation the other day with a forensic psychologist. Oh my gosh, was she cool? Her episode isn't even going to air until next year, but I just love her. She's so amazing. And I know my listeners are going to absolutely love her too. So I've been podcasting now for about 5 years. I don't see any possibility of slowing it down. And you're probably going to see me pop up here on Podzeal a couple of more times because I actually have 4 podcasts, one of them being Podzeal. I have 4 podcasts total. It's kind of exciting. And that's it. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. I'm looking forward to the kickoff of Podzeal on January 1st with Jerry Dugan. You guys are going to love this guy. Don't miss out on this episode. It is set up as a premiere episode on my podcast, so make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss when that one airs.